Hello everyone and welcome to Tiger Tales, a place where you'll find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Quickly before we dive into this, I just want to quickly say that all my fanfictions are exactly that. Fanfictions. They do not mean to infringe on the original continuity and no copyright was intended. Let's dive back into the Tiger Tales Marvel and DC fanfiction universe, or the TMDFU for short. Today we're bringing a new contender and a new story to the fold. Now if you want to catch up on the TMDFU, I've got a playlist on this channel where you'll find all of the installments in the order they're released, in order they're meant to be listened to, and you'll find many different stories in that playlist. So let's dive into this story. We're introducing Ghost Rider with an interesting twist, and I hope you guys enjoy this story. So let's dive into The Ghost Riders, Vengeance Reformed, Chapter 1, Vengeance with a Bang. Lucifer Morningstar sat there in the nightclub, bored. He had given up, his life became boring, and the events of saving people, or the life beforehand where he was the ruler of hell, seemed all but nothing now. He sat there pondering life when suddenly an alarm went off on his phone. He pulled his phone from his jacket pocket and it read Rider. Then Lucifer smiled as memories flooded his mind. The odd-looking fellow named Mr. Pocket told him of new powers. His body felt oddly strange on Union Day when the two worlds collided. He was fused with another being who also went by the same name as himself. He was now two Lucifers in one. He stood there and walked to his wine cabinet and opened it and pulled out a glowing bottle. "Hello, Zarathos. Want to play?" Lucifer grinned. He sat back down, looking at the glowing light, which took a form of a small fire. "I know Mephisto usually handles this sort of thing, but I thought why not give it a go," Lucifer said with glee.
Hey there, podcast listener. You enjoying what you're listening to? Well then, do I got a special treat for you. Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637. That's me. I'm your host. And I like to tell you stories. Stories that I personally enjoy. So, buckle up, get comfortable, because we're going on a wild ride.
Kit woke up in pain. Pain fueled his lungs with every breath he took. He looked down to see his body wrapped up in bandages. The room was white, the light burnt his eyes, and he tried to move, but the bandages were very restricting. He tried to lick his lips, but his mouth felt like sandpaper. He closed his eyes and the images flashed through his mind. He stood there in his security guard uniform. He stood there and smiled as all the kids entered the Ancient Order and Mythical Museum in Los Angeles. A lot of their artifacts were taken a few weeks beforehand by the government for the act of keeping them safe, as they were once connected or linked to fallen superheroes and supervillains that fell on Union Day. He stood there and watched the cleaner walk up to a big pitcher and start cleaning the floor nearby. He looked as the school trip continued on, and all the kids looked rather intrigued or incredibly bored. There he looked at the cleaner and the cleaning station. Something was blinking amongst the cleaning products. It was red and moved incredibly fast.
"Hey, this is Kit. I am guarding the entrance and I have a possible code red. I am going to investigate,"
Kit said into his walkie-talkie. He approached the cleaning station. A small beeping sound grew in volume as he approached the cleaning station. Kit lifted the cover and removed some of the cleaning products to find a small remote detonated explosive device. Kit jumped back.
"There's a bomb. Everyone evacuate,"
Kit yelled. He ran to the wall and pulled the fire alarm, and everyone started to quickly leave the building. Kit watched as all the people evacuated. Then one of the teachers ran up to him. "We are missing a few kids. They went to the toilets in a group," the teacher told him.
"Okay, get out of here and I will find him,"
Kit demanded. He then ran through the exhibits, checking out every corner as he went. He finally got to the toilet and ran in.
"Hello? Anyone in here?"
he yelled out. He checked the bathroom stalls. Then he opened the last one and saw another device. He panicked slightly. He slammed the door closed, and then the device exploded. The whole bathroom went up in flames. Kit got pushed to the wall via the bathroom stall door, the force of the explosion throwing him across the room. Kit opened his eyes, the light returning to burn his eyes as he tried to focus on something that wasn't light. Suddenly, a suited gentleman walked in.
I already spoke to the police.
Kit muttered. I am not with the police, the man replied.
Who are you?
Kit asked. Someone who wants to help you, the man said.
How?
Kit asked, rather confused. I can offer you power to take down those who destroyed the museum, the man said with a grin.
Those fuckers killed 6 kids.
Kit grunted through his teeth. Yes, they did, and I can give you the tools to enforce vengeance on those who are responsible, the man said. He then pulled out a rolled-up piece of paper and a pen from his jacket pocket and placed it down in front of Kit. Sign here, my man, the man told him. Kit picked up the pen, and with some restraint and agony he managed to sign his name. Then the man took the paper, rolled it back up, and with the pen tucked them back into his jacket pocket. He then held out his hand.
Now what?
Kit asked as he shook the man's hand. The man gripped firm on Kit's hand and leaned in. Zarathos, I bind you to this mortal. Become the Ghost Rider once more and seek out those who have sinned and purify their souls, the man bellowed. Kit looked at the man when suddenly his eyes rolled in the back of his head and everything went black. Kit woke up in his bed. His body had completely healed. No burn marks and no shrapnel wounds. He jumped to his feet and realised he wasn't in any pain. He grinned to himself. He then looked out of the window and saw the beautiful clear sky. He ran his hand through his hair and grabbed his jacket and his keys and headed outside. He walked out and saw his white Chevrolet Camaro SS, a birthday present from his father after he moved to LA a year before. He climbed in and started the engine. It roared to life and he drove away. He drove past the hospital and then he remembered he didn't know how he got from the hospital to his apartment. He then remembered the man and signed the paper. Then he thought about the tools the man was rambling on about. He then remembered why he was in the hospital in the first place. He took a hard right and drove into the south side of LA and found the museum. He saw the whole building had a circle of yellow tape around it. The smell of smoke still in the air as the building was clearly destroyed.
Damn it.
Kit snapped out loud. Suddenly, he felt really hot. His skin started to burn up, a sudden intense heat burning from within his stomach. He climbed out the car and dropped to his knees. The heat got so intense, then suddenly his head burst into flame, burning away Kit's face, revealing his skull. His hand also burnt away, revealing the bone underneath. Ghost Rider stood up and stood tall, its hands and head flaming high. He then looked down at the clothes he was wearing and grunted. He marched across the road and approached a clothing store. He walked up to it and punched the window, which shattered into tiny pieces. Then he climbed into the store and found a change of clothes. He climbed back out wearing black jeans, black boots, a leather jacket with a white lion print on the back.
Much better,
Ghost Rider muttered. He then walked back to the Camaro, climbed in and closed the door, and the wheels set on fire. The logo of the Camaro which sat in front also set ablaze. The engine roared and then the flaming Camaro drove away. Ghost Rider drove up to the hospital and parked right outside. He climbed out and walked in. Everyone in the lobby started screaming and running away. Ghost Rider walked down the hallway and stopped outside one of the rooms. He opened the door and walked in and found the cleaner of the museum laid in the bed. Holy crap! Help! 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 The cleaner screamed. Ghost Rider could feel the sins burning within the man.
silence.
Ghost Rider roared. The man screamed, silenced to a small whimper. Then he walked up to the cleaner, leaned in close, the flames of his head licking the man's cheek.
It was you. You planted the explosives.
Ghost Rider snapped. I didn't want to. They forced me. They wanted to send a message, the man cried out.
Who?
Ghost Rider roared. They call themselves the Satan Sons. They started off as small, but since Union Day they have grown all over the world, the man said through his tears. Ghost Rider then grabbed the cleaner by the collar of the hospital gown and locked eyes with the tearful man.
Feel the pain of those children that died. Feel the heartbreak of their parents and loved ones. Feel it all.
Ghost Rider roared. The man's mind was flooded with images of the children, the pain caused, the amassed feeling of loss. The trauma hit him like a train. The man sat there and screamed and tears rolled down his face. Ghost Rider walked away. He walked through the hospital. As he walked outside, he saw several police officers aiming their pistols at him. Ghost Rider, hands up, one of the officers called out. Ghost Rider looked at the few officers and his Camaro behind them.
Move out of my way, or else.
Ghost Rider barked. The officer looked to another and then took a step forward. Hands up, we will not ask again. We are willing to use any force necessary, the officer barked back. Ghost Rider stood there staring at them. Open fire, the officer called out. Then all the officers started shooting at Ghost Rider, the bullets hitting him, but he just stood there not fazed nor harmed. Then Ghost Rider walked up to one of the officers. One of them swung the butt end of his pistol at him. He caught the officer by the wrist, then kicked the officer in the chest, knocking the wind out of him. The impact of the kick threw him backwards into a car. The officer landed on the floor, grunting in pain. The other officers stood there not knowing what to do. Then the Ghost Rider took several steps forward as the officer took the same amount of steps back. The Ghost Rider opened his mouth and a burst of hellfire erupted from it. He aimed at the floor, forcing the officers to run backwards. Then he stopped and the flame vanquished, quickly as it burst into flame. Ghost Rider walked past the scared officers and climbed into the Camaro.
I warned you.
Ghost Rider muttered. The wheels once again burst into flame and he drove off, leaving officers scared and confused. Kit woke up in a burst of panic. He flew out of bed and tapped himself all over. He ran his hands over his face and through his hair. He scanned his face, checked himself in the mirror, and then looked down at his legs and the rest of his body. He was stood there in his underwear, cool as a cucumber. Kit sighed out loud. He then walked past his kitchen, then stopped. He turned to his kitchen table and saw a black leather jacket with a white lion print on the back hung on one of the chairs. He picked it up and then he realised it wasn't a dream. He looked at the table and saw a sheathed machete and a pump-action tactical shotgun laid upon it. Kit looked at the two weapons with shock. He remembered going to the store and then the hospital. He remembered the police officers, but everything else after that was incredibly fuzzy.
What the fuck did I do?
He muttered to himself. And there you have it, guys. We have Ghost Rider, the Ghost Riders Vengeance Reformed Chapter 1. Hope you guys have enjoyed this Ghost Rider chapter, and I'm very glad to introduce a Ghost Rider story to the TMDFU. If you guys have enjoyed this, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss another story. Hit the comment section down below with what you think is going to happen next. I'd like to use this time to thank some of my supporters. We have the Zero to Hero podcast with Jim and Billy, the Box Girl Podcasting, and of course they host a Discord server, and they're very fun dudes. I was actually recently on there, so maybe we should go check out their podcast and go give them a listen. And of course, we have the partners of the Zero to Hero Network. We have Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger, who has Nerd Through Comics on Spotify and everywhere else you can listen to podcasts, where he's adapting comic books into audio dramas, and soon he'll be adding his own original stories. Then, of course, we have my Parabatai, aka Willie, aka Cosplay Dude 637, with his two podcasts on Spotify and everywhere else you listen to podcasts. We have Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637, which he has stories such as Shadowhunters, The Order, which is his own original story. We have Sword Art Online and X-Men, and then we have Power Rangers Universe 19 with his Power Rangers storylines, Ultra Rangers, Power Rangers Cyber Force, Power Rangers Skyforce, and 2 Kamen Rider stories, with more to come, so make sure you go check out both of them. Now, of course, normally I leave the video here and say bye, but I wanted to give you guys a quick tease to the MDFU of next year. I plan on expanding this universe with more stories and more characters, and building my whole universe to myself with all the voice actors. So thank you to the Woods on Discord. He is the voice actor for Kit and Ghost Rider, and he'll be back as Ghost Rider next year. So before the video ends, I just wanted to give you a quick tease to next year. So thank you all for listening to this video, this story. Make sure you subscribe, and I shall see you guys next time. Ra's al Ghul led Mr. Pocket through the corridor and into a secure room, with no windows and one table. "So you've collected all those artifacts that were formed from Union Day?" Raj asked as he walked around to the other side of the table. "That is correct, Raj. All 4 of them were collected. They're all very different and very bizarre things, but they all were never traced nor seen before Union Day. It was like they were born from the madness," Mr. Pocket told Ra's al Ghul. Then he placed a briefcase on the table and opened it, revealing the 4 items. Mr. Pocket put on a black pair of gloves and picked out the first item. "This is an arm guard. As you can see, there are 4 gems welded to it. These are called the Dino Gems. Whoever wears it is granted the power of these gems: speed, armored skin, sonic cry, and invisibility," Mr. Pocket explained as he placed the arm guard on the table in front of Ra's al Ghul. Each gem was a different colour: red, blue, yellow, and black. Mr. Pocket then pulled out the second item. This book, as you can see by the title, is called a Death Note. It is linked to the Shinigamis, or Death Gods, so to speak. Whoever touches this book will be able to see the Shinigami that is connected to it, and then will be able to write anyone's name with their picture of the person's face in their mind into the book, and that person will die. It's a little more complicated than what I've just said, but you get the gist of it, Mr. Pocket explained. He then placed the book down next to the Dino Gem armor guard. He pulled out the third item. This is something called a Digivice. This one specifically is called D-Power. This holds a link to the digital world. With these blue cards, whoever uses this device can work with and digivolve, air quote, things called digital monsters, Mr. Pocket explained, then placed the Digivice and the blue cards on the table next to the first 2 items. The 4th and final item was a small charm. Mr. Pocket then held his hand out, and with a few sparkles of light, the charm exploded into a big silver key with a yellow handguard. The charm was dangling from the end of the handle. This is a keyblade. Once it picks its user, it will change appearance. This weapon is to be used by those of pure heart, and with practice can do some out-of-the-world things, Mr. Pocket explained. Then he placed the keyblade next to the rest of the items. "So you want me to keep these safe here at Nanda Parbat?" Ra's asked. "If you wouldn't mind," Mr. Pocket replied. "Fine, I guess," Ra's al Ghul grunted. "Thank you, Ra's. I shall leave these with you and take good care of them, will you?" Mr. Pocket said with a grin. He then turned around and opened the door. "Mr. Pocket, if I'm going to do this favour for you, you could at least address me properly." Ra's al Ghul was my grandfather's name, Ra's said out loud. Mr. Pocket stopped in the doorway and turned around. "My apologies, Mr. Wayne," Mr. Pocket said with a bow. Then he left the room swiftly.